Have you ever wondered what happens during the winter? What does the maintenance staff do? Have you ever wondered where all the leaves go? Well, stay tuned, you're about to find out. Welcome to Golf Talk. I'm your host, Pat White, and joining me is Director of Golf, Casey Flenniken, Director of Maintenance, Wells McClure. Thank you guys for joining us again.
Thanks, Pat.
So I played on Veterans Day.
Yep.
And I was surprised to see all the pin placements had flags on the top. Wells, I think that's you?
Yeah, that's something that we did years ago. We bought a set of American flags in golf maintenance. Toke was the one that primarily has them because they have these events of Patriot Days at Kahidi. They'll do them there as well. But yeah, it's a nice touch on Veterans Day, and I think John also does it for Memorial Day as well. And then they've got little stakes on the side of the green, so if you're ever out there playing and you see the American flags on the flag stick, look around the green, find the stake to lean the flag on so you're not allowing that flag to touch the ground.
Yeah, I was looking for that, and I did notice that they were red, white, and blue as well, so they sort of stood out.
Yep.
And tell you guys thanks for putting them up close to the pin placement, because most of us are pretty old, and that's a long walk back to the front of the green.
Yeah, it's a nice touch.
So how'd the Patriots Day turn out?
It went great. So we hosted two events. We did one that the original one was at Tokwa, and it raised a little over $3,000, and which was a little short of our goal. The last few years we've been around that $5,000 or $6,000 number, and so we wanted to try and duplicate some efforts and go ahead and do another one. And we went out to Kahidi, and we actually had less people come out to Kahidi, which was a little bit of a surprise. But the donation amounts were tremendous. So we raised just shy of $6,000 in total for Folds of Honor, which is a PGA of America initiative that supports the children for scholarship opportunities of the men and women who have served our country.
Thanks for doing that, guys.
Absolutely.
I've noticed the Bermuda grass is going dormant. Some pretty major spots out there now. But the fairways and the tee boxes are staying gorgeous green.
Yep.
What did you do?
So this is the second year in a row that Tenaci's done the, it's a company we use. It's from Simplot, is a chemical provider of fertilizer chemicals. And they have a fall color pack program that they recommend. And a lot of guys in the transition zone with warm season turf like Bermuda or Zoysia make two applications, one in the middle of October, one in the first week of November. And it's just a kind of a combo pack of a turf pigment, kind of like, it's not quite a paint, it's a pigment. It gets into the grass, and some micronutrients that bring out some green as well. But this year's different than years past. We've only had 2 light frosts so far this year, so it's not as drastic as it has been in November of years past, but it's still really nice and green. And we expect the color. Last year we held on to some nice green fairways until about the first week of December. A lot of that's just kind of depends on when you get your first really hard freezes. We notice if we get multiple mornings in the mid-20s, it'll kind of start to fade. But if we catch a warm-up, then it kind of comes right back out again. And we even saw a benefit at Tenaci in March of this year. Our fairways greened up much faster than Tokwa and Kahidi. So this year, in 2024, all 3 golf courses did the fall color pack, and we're so happy with the results.
It's gorgeous.
It's great.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, I agree.
Did you have something you wanted to add?
I was just going to talk a little bit about, as you mentioned, that grass goes dormant, and dormant, another fancy term for brown, right, for Bermuda grass. And it will get tougher. I think wintertime is the hardest time to play any golf course. Our golf courses get tougher. It's cold, right? So the ball's not going to go as far when it's cold. The grass isn't growing, so you're going to have thin lies that are not going to see any reprieve from the turf, because normally it's pretty moist, right? The drainage is a little less because the turf's not growing, and you just don't see water moving like it should, right? So you get a rain event in the summertime, and it could last what? If you get a half inch of rain, it's gone by when?
I mean, you could be off the path later that day or for sure the next day.
You get a half inch of rain in the winter, and
it could be a couple days.
Right. So water sits. I'll raise my hand because I've hit a couple embarrassing chip shots in the wintertime. I don't know about you and Wells, but my advice to our players would be, if you have a chance to get that putter out from off the green, I would putt it. Sometimes it might be, you might not make a par, right? But don't make doubles, right? It's about getting on the green and having a chance at that par putt. I know it's cool to hit the fancy chip shots, but I'd say that if you went in the wintertime when the grass is dormant, if you went 10 yards off the green to any flag you want on the green, you hit 10 putts and you hit 10 chips, I bet that putter's the high percentage play.
So I'm the golfer that chips onto a green.
Yep.
Higher percentage than putting from the grass onto the green.
Yep.
So you're telling me I should go drop some golf balls on a practice putting green and get used to that before all of this water retention and.
Absolutely. Try it out. And especially, I think that Kahiti's probably the hardest place to chip because you have some elevated surfaces and there's a lot of slope and they're small greens, right? They're really small greens. So with the small greens, we've talked on Golf Talk before about the whole locations at Kahiti and how they can be tough, right? Because of the smaller surfaces. And I think that at Kahiti, due to the elevated surfaces and the slope, it's hard to chip the ball in the right area. So if you get some thin grass, it's easy to putt that ball up the hill or down the hill and get it somewhere in the vicinity of the hole versus landing a pitch shot or a chip shot or a flop shot absolutely perfectly. I think you'll see more success with the putting. Pat, when they do the Florida swing or they go to Memphis on the PGA Tour, you'll see a lot more putters than you would think from off the green because they know they can get that ball rolling on top of the grass and not hit look like a fool, right? It's really easy to hit a bad chip shot off dormant grass.
Yeah, and speaking of, putting off the green, I got a chance to play the honors course one time. We had a caddy.
Yep.
And I was, I don't know, 5-10 yards in front of the green, and they cut it really tight at the honors course, and I was like, I don't know if I should putt or chip this. And he was like, if you ever ask yourself whether you should putt or chip, he's like, just putt.
Yeah,
because it might come up a little short, but the chances of you hitting that chip shot thin and sculling it over the green are much higher than you hitting a putter thin and knocking it over the green.
Yeah. PWP, putt when possible.
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
Good tips, guys. So Casey and Wells, because Wells, you're going to have a part of this because we've talked about it before, but we have weather delays, and you just posted to an email subscription through your golf group changes to the time periods, I guess is what it was called.
Those are holiday hours.
Holiday hours. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
But we also did. I posted one last week as well. So I did both actually. So that's a fair question. We will move to. We are 9 a.m. in November, but then we will move to 10 a.m. in December, January, and February.
Okay.
So with that, on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we will do our crossovers. We talked about that last month in Golf Talk, but we'll cross over on those days to get the most amount of people on the golf course at a good time. And then we will be closed on Thanksgiving Day, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and New Year's Day. On New Year's Eve, we will have morning times available only at all three golf courses. All right. So getting ready for the holidays, and it's pretty cold anyway. And let our people, they work really hard 361 days a year, so it's their time with their families.
So you also mentioned that it's getting cold.
Yep.
And we live right next to a lake. Water temperature on the lake generates that extra moisture layer.
Yep.
Hits the grass, condenses to dew, turns to frost. How do you guys coordinate frost delays, and how do we golfers keep up with that?
I'll let you start because it starts with you really early.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times we'll know, superintendents, assistant superintendents, we'll know when we walk out of the house if we're going to have a delay. Typically, in the morning, it's actually not as cold at 5 o'clock in the morning as it is at 6:30. So a lot of times as that sun's coming up, that's when we'll see some frost form. Some days you wake up and it's 24, 25, and we know we're going to be in we'll even call that a freeze delay rather than a frost delay. But as soon as we know, we got an idea, we'll go ahead and post on Twitter. Frost delay is expected. Check back at 8:30. And when it's 10 o'clock tee times, 8:30 we'll kind of have an idea of what the sun's going to do, and hopefully we're starting to see some melting by then. That's one of the reasons we move those tee times back to 10 to limit those frost delays as much as possible. And then we'll just kind of update every 30 or 45 minutes leading up to that first tee time. So we try to update the golf shop, update Twitter as soon as possible, and stay current and continue to update as the morning progresses. Some days when the sun gets up, it melts it off right away.
Right. Yeah. So I have a 10 o'clock tee time.
Yeah.
Question to you. I have a 10 o'clock tee time. He's implemented a frost delay, notifies your people. It's on Twitter. I can look it up. It's there. but I've got a 10 o'clock tee time. Does mine get pushed later, or do I lose my tee time?
Sure, good question. So it depends on the starting time. So let's say it's a frost at the end of November. We start tee times at 9. So that's going to depend if you have an hour delay. Well, you would think you would start at 11. Now, if some people drop off that are in front of you in that 9 to 10 gap in front of you, if they drop off for cold weather or just the frost, they don't want to wait or don't have time to spare on the back end, then you're going to start moving up. The staff's going to do everything we can to move things up. So it all depends. And even for people that play at noon, 1 or 2, if nobody cancels, then they're going to have an hour delay as well. But normally you always, frost brings colder, is normally colder
temperatures. So you're not losing your tee
cancellation.
time because of a frost delay?
No, you are not. It's just a delay to your tee time, and the best, as Wells said. And a lot of times Wells and I will be, or Adam and John, Charles and Jordan, they'll be communicating with each other, you know, and a lot of people look at the golf course superintendent's Twitter or X pages to stay updated. So I'll actually text Wells and say, hey, we are back, and he will communicate on his social media, we're back on time.
Good.
So we always are texting privately to kind of keep everybody informed.
Good. You spend a lot of time mowing during the spring, summer, and fall. What do your people do during the winter?
Well, Pat, you know, like Casey said, we're still busy. So ideally, every morning it's still kind of like normal in the summer. We're not mowing tees, fairways, approaches, all that stuff. But those guys that would be on those mowers are blowing leaves, leaf cleanup. We're still raking bunkers before play if we have the staff, which we typically do. Changing hole locations as long as we get 50 or more players the day before. Mowing or rolling greens. So typically the morning hours are setting the golf course up for play. After that, typically we'll have a couple guys continuing on leaf cleanup, and that'll go till about Christmas. This year it might last a little bit longer because we're a little behind schedule on leaves. And then it's a chance to kind of start picking away at some projects. We detail all our equipment, kind of finish out the year, full detail on all of our equipment, start doing some preventative maintenance on some things for the end of the year, sharpening all of our reels and our blades on our mowers. And you know, little projects like drainage, tee markers. We refurbished tee markers at Kahiti, Tokwa, range furniture, benches. And in fact, shout out to the Tellico Village Woodworkers. They're making us some custom tee markers for Tenasseee this year. They're going to look great.
That's
we're
good.
Really excited about those. So, you know, there's plenty of stuff to keep busy, and we operate with a lot smaller staff in the wintertime too. So it's also a chance for our guys to take some time off. So typically, you know, throughout the December, January, we'll have a guy or two off a week at each course, just, you know, taking advantage of vacation time they've earned through the year.
So typically during the winter you have a lot of branch removal, tree removal, that kind of thing too?
Yep. I mean, we accumulate, you know, a lot of times we'll do some brush removal along the lake banks or along the out-of-bounds edges. I know at Tenasseee this year we're going to try to address the tee shot from the black tee on 17. There's a lot of growth coming out from that left side. You almost have to hit it out to the right, and hopefully you can hit a nice draw. But, you know, stuff like that. And then we've always got a few dead trees on the list, or some safety-related trees that we got to take care of. So
yeah, well, good.
Plenty to do and keep busy, but also a chance to take a breath and enjoy the kind of downtime.
So question to both of you guys, and we've talked about this almost every month, and it's leading up to what you talked about, Wells. The grass starts slowing down. You talked about putting on the greens because it's going to get hard and the water build up or lack of water, all those tips that we just did. But now let's get to the golfers. What are some of the tips that we can have that'll help us reduce wear and tear, entering and exit greens, fairways, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like we talked about last month. You know, be cognizant of where you're driving. Just because that exit stake may be at a certain spot, if you notice it might be starting to get worn, you know, exit at a different spot. If you can, try not to run down the middle of the fairway. If you drive out, hit your tee shot, that tee shot goes to the green, just get back to the cart path and try to pick a good area. And as we're getting into the winter, our greens will start to, the growth on the greens is slowing down, which means ball mark recovery is slowing down. I highly encourage people, I see it a lot, folks still prying up to fix a ball mark rather than working everything in. USGA's got plenty of good videos. You can just YouTube USGA ball mark repair or something like that. But, you know, fixing ball marks is a huge part of keeping our greens good through the winter, and just be cognizant of where you drive. You know, try to stay out. And we will have some holes cart path only through the winter.
Could you tell us why?
Yeah, like you said, the grass is slowing down. It can't recover. So we're getting to that point. I think Toqua's already got 2 and 8 cart path only, I believe. Or I'm sorry, 2, 7, and 8 maybe cart path only at Toqua already. I think Kahiti's got number 7 cart path only. Number 11 at Tenacity will be coming up on cart path only. If you've played Tenacity, we notice we've got that split rail fence that kind of runs along the cart path where everyone exits, and we open up sections of that will allow people to exit, and then when that gets worn, we'll move it back. And in the summertime, that section that's closed off recovers, and then we can go back to that spot. Well, we're to the point now, and again, we said we're a little behind on the grass totally going dormant, so we're still seeing a little bit of recovery in the rough, but we're probably a week or so away from making that whole cart path only because the turf just cannot recover on some of those concentrated enter and exits. So Tenacity will most likely have 11 cart path only. We may make a section of 6 cart path only between the pond and the cart path, where it's kind of a bottleneck and everyone just runs down the middle of that section.
I'm going to throw you a curved question now. And we have not talked about this before, but I'm just your opinion, both of you. So I go play a course, one of our 3 courses, I'm not going to name which one, and you look up and where most of the people getting out of the cart walk to the green and it's bare. Because it's just no good place to park the cart without going to that spot, and it's bare. Should we go left or right and walk on the good grass when it's absolutely bare?
For sure. Yeah. Try to.
Is that not going to make it larger, the bare spot larger? Uh-oh, there's a question.
I think if it's a concentrated area like that, and I'm trying to think of which.
Let's go to number
17 at Toqua.
17 at Toqua.
Yeah.
That's where I went.
Yeah.
When you said that. I haven't heard this before, so.
Yeah, it's bare. It is dirt bare.
Right. Well, I guess you could look at it 2 ways. If you go wide of the bare spot, short or long, and go around it, yeah, maybe you're going to extend that bare area or wear down that area. But if you continue to walk through the bare area, then it's just going to creep closer to the green because you're going to be on the same path.
So I should have 1 foot on, 1 foot off.
Well, again, it's always best
I'm
to avoid the bad spots.
Yeah, if it's brown, walk around.
That's right. Walk around, drive around, stay off of it. And you talk about what we can do as Tellico Village to take care of our grass in the winter. We're fortunate here. We know our demographic. We know our folks like to ride in the fairways. We let people ride as much as possible in the fairways. You go to some of the other clubs in the area that really take care of their golf courses, they're rough only. They're cart path only. Yeah. We don't want to do that here, but if it gets to the point where we notice a hole is getting worn down, and I think some of the damage at Kahiti was a direct correlation to just increased cart traffic through the fall, winter. We had that freezing event. As soon as it dried up enough to let carts off, we let carts off, and then April rolls around and there's very little grass.
Right.
There's no doubt that cart traffic has a direct effect on green up, and that's why you look at Jordan's par 3s in the spring. They look great.
Yeah.
None of his par 3s had any issues.
Well, let's give a great big round of applause and kudos to the people when Jordan was fixing that, putting the sod down, getting the folks at UT down here to correct to find out if it was dead or not, the grass, and the roots were still active. The number of golfers that paid attention to that and avoided those spots to let them grow back.
Yep.
That was huge.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. Update us on the rounds and calendars, if you will.
Yeah, as we
Wait a second. I need to make an announcement to the group too, but round and calendar, you're going to be covering up through November, hopefully December calendar, but Golf Talk is not going to have a December, January, February. We won't be back until March.
That's correct.
So think as far out as you can.
Okay, let me think here. We have just completed the couples championship. It went really well. We had great 70-degree weather. Each team got a customized bottle of wine, and each player got a custom 2024 couples championship golf towel.
Good.
So it was a tremendous day. Upcoming, we have the Santa Claus Open, which is, I believe that's on Saturday the 8th.
Charity event.
I think that's correct, yes, at Toqua. And that is a $5 entry fee plus your green and cart fee, and every player brings a toy.
Yeah.
And we donate those toys to the Loudoun County Toys for Tots program through the Loudoun County Sheriff. And it's great. We make a PR day out of it for Tellico Village, and over 200 toys donated I've been here for 10 years, the last 10 years. You know, it's people really, you can donate, take them to Tokwa, or you can bring it to Nassie, either one, and we'll make sure that we get it to the sheriff's office. And then as we move in, we really won't have many events. The Tellico Linksters, the men's Tellico Linksters, and the MGA will play year-round. They'll play through the winter on those Thursday mornings. None of our ladies' leagues or our couples' leagues are operating right now. And then as we get into 2025, we will have the Winter Golf Classic in February. I could not tell you the exact date right now, but that'll be coming out. The Santa Claus Open at this point is full with a waiting list. So those winter events, maybe we need to have more of them because they fill up, right?
But if you're on the waiting list, bring your toys anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Please bring the toy. And so we'll kind of see what happens with that. Hopefully we get good weather. We've had tough times with that, and that's always the problem. But it's a good time for a plug. We're 13,000 rounds above budget. We're still about 1,600 rounds behind last year, but Wells and I were discussing this morning, you know, November so far has been unbelievable. November is not a highly budgeted round month because, you know, you're normally getting into colder weather. Wells told me yesterday, normally he's done mowing fairways second week of October, and he's about to mow them tomorrow, you know, so it's crazy to be in the third week of November and still mowing fairways. But so golf rounds, when it comes out December 1st, I know that we're going to run those numbers and the rounds report's going to be through the roof. So
outstanding.
We're prepared to continue going. And last, I'd like to say, over the winter when it is cold, there will be heat, electric heat in the Tokwa Pavilion, and we're going to have 2 golf simulators in there.
Oh, good. So
it's a great chance for you and your 3 friends, and bring your foursome, come play golf in the simulators. It's very affordable at only $25 a player. So come play the simulators. If we have demo days in there, sign up for demo days. It might even be better sometimes than being on the range because you're in a controlled environment and you can see that ball flying and where it's landing on the simulators. You're going to see all the data on the screen after every shot instead of just on the iPad like you would on the range. So it's really cool, and we'll have our tech reps in there, our golf pros, and then you'll be able to do private lessons and clinics in there. So it's going to be really good.
Outstanding. Yep. So to keep your skills honed during the winter.
Yep, absolutely. Come out and, you know, play golf. It takes about the same amount of time as it does to play on a normal golf course, and our golf pros can help you with that, and so it's fun.
I want to take this opportunity, being your host on Golf Talk, to particularly thank these 2 gentlemen for a great job that they did in 2024. They've given us Tellico Village golfers 3 wonderful courses. The golf experience has been outstanding, and as you've heard today and been watching Golf Talk, we're expecting great things in 2025, and I wanted to personally thank both of you for giving us that experience.
Yeah, thank you, Pat, and I'd like to thank the network as well, Tellico Village Network, you know, and all the volunteers that help, and everybody that's clicked the YouTube and liked and subscribed, and Brookley and Charlie and Hazel for watching. You know, they watch every episode, and so. But thank you, we really appreciate it.
Well, you stole some of my thunder because we have Kevin and John that make us 3 look an awful lot better than we really are.
That's for sure.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Yeah, it is a fact.
Yeah.
And then there are the countless volunteers. Well, actually, I guess we could count them literally, but there's 3 to 5 people in here every single month that are backing us up, supporting us, and making this a success. And thank you to TVN and all the volunteers for making this successful. Thank you again for joining us on Golf Talk these 11 months. We are going to come back in March, and we would really like for you to show the Tellico Village Network TVN support by hitting the subscribe button and making comments on Golf Talk or anything else you want to talk about. And hit that like button while you're at it. Have a great Thanksgiving, wonderful Christmas, Happy New Year, and we'll see you in March.
You just hit it right down the middle on the first tee. You got a middle flag right here.
Yeah, and then I chunked the second shot, three putt walk off with a double bogey.